Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to our videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. Also hit the bell to be notified of our upcoming videos. This is the review of the Raketa Avant-Garde 0240. That is one version of the Avant-Garde. Raketa is a Russian-based watchmaker. Their factory is in St. Petersburg and they've been making watches in Russia since it was the Soviet Union. Raketa makes an awful lot of interesting timepieces that have a lot of connection to Russia's history. And Russia and various parts of the former Soviet Union had an amazing variety of really cool watches made with a lot of character that you might not suspect. The Avant-Garde, I think it might be a recreation of an old dial. I'm actually not entirely sure about this. I mean, sometimes the watches are inspired by them and changed a little bit. This is definitely a modern watch. It's 40 millimeters wide in steel. I'm turning it to the side here because look how nice and thick it is. It's got this beautifully curved sapphire crystal that's really, really clear. And you can see that even extreme angles, there's no distortion. And that's because it's a really high quality crystal in terms of the cut. There's a little red cabochon there in the crown. Inside here is a movement they call their caliber 2615. It's an automatic movement. It's a little old school. You can see it sort of through a porthole there. Where's the rotor? There it is. This is a 2.5 hertz automatic movement, about 4 hours of power reserve. That's a relatively slow rate. There was a different ethos behind a lot of the Soviet movements, and that was to make movements that may not have been as accurate, but didn't need to be serviced as often. And so there's a different mentality behind sort of the typical Swiss mechanical watch and the typical Russian mechanical watch. And this is the same movement they've been making for a long time. So it's very interesting, very historic. So this bracelet isn't sized for me yet. There's also versions of this watch on straps. But I thought it was really nice to have this combination of sort of everyday conservative standard, men's casual wear watch, maybe a little bit on the dressy side, with this really interesting Kandinsky sort of era inspired dial. You have the signature 0 at the top of the dial there instead of 12 o'clock. That's something that you see on a lot of Raketa watches. And these hands that are just sort of really funky. You have this hour hand, which is this uneven triangle. You have the seconds hand, which is a red arrow. And then you have the minute hand, which is this loop. It's this brushed metal loop and it has a little red tip here. And it's just sort of an interesting take on reimagining some of these classic shapes, which is the hour and minute hand on a watch dial. So again, this is a Raketa Avant-Garde 0240, a really interesting and ultimately very wearable and cool watch with a nice story and a style that I think is really hip and attractive and also very different, which is hard to find, especially in the world of watches where things are trying to emulate one another so often. Price for the Raketa Avant-Garde is 1,300 euros in this configuration, and you can see the full review on aBlogtoWatch. Thanks.